to have a man whose public ministry has reached hundreds of millions simply because he believed.
I'd like to go to heaven. I'm looking forward to it.
He spoke to many and spread his righteous message of hope and forgiveness.
If there's such a thing as a humble shepherd of the Lord, Billy Graham is that person.
And today, he's in heaven.
We watch as those who heard his words witness the end of an amazing journey and say goodbye to the faithful and humble messenger who walked it. 7 News at 6 begins now.
Thank you for joining us this evening. From the boy growing up on a North Carolina farm to the man who preached the gospel to 215 million people, Billy Graham had a tremendous impact on our world.
Today, millions around the globe tuned in to give a final thank you and say goodbye to the Reverend. President Trump and Vice President Mike Pence were among those who witnessed the funeral live in Charlotte. And so were our Amy Wood and Gordon Dill, joining us tonight live from where earlier today family as well as political and religious leaders gathered in Billy Graham's honor. Amy, Gordon, an extremely touching ceremony today.
Exactly that, Tom and Diane. You know, you mentioned the world leaders here, people who are leaders in the evangelical movement were here as well, crowded into the tent, just 2,000 of them for a guy who, as you say, reached hundreds of millions of people throughout his career and over the years earned the title America's Pastor. A very big name is Billy Graham.
It is, and there's a very big family behind this very big name. And you have to remember, today they were burying their grandfather, their great-grandfather, or their own father. It was a tough day for the family. Here's what happened during the service.
He loved the Bible. It governed how he lived, and it governed how he died.
Billy Graham's personal pastor has spent the last 9 days preparing this family for this moment.
You don't love him like I do. And you haven't loved him as long as I have.
Billy Graham's only surviving sibling, reminding the thousands watching under a cathedral tent of their personal loss and heaven's gain.
His heaven is coming again, and would like to take you also.
I want to be called the one that Daddy loved the longest.
Gigi, the eldest, who has been living in Montreat and caring for her father all these years. One after another, Billy Graham's children spoke from their hearts, remembering a father who had grown weak and needed them to read him the Bible.
Full 60-minute message.
Or the mercy granted a child facing divorce who just returned to her father in Montreat.
He wrapped his arms around me and he said, "Welcome home."
My father's greatest longing has been granted. He's in the presence of God.
Franklin, the son now leading the ministry, eulogized his father and asked the question that he knew Billy Graham would ask.
If he could speak to you today, he would ask, will you be making this journey to heaven someday?
With a casket embraced by his grandsons, Amazing Grace escorted Billy Graham home to his final resting place next to his late wife, Ruth. And that, of course, came about 2 hours after the official service under this tent happened. They headed off to a prayer garden to the left of this tent, and they were able to gather there, just the family, 200 members of the close-knit family, and they were there laying roses, each child stepping forward to lay a white rose on Billy Graham's casket. This is the moment, Gordon, that makes it oh so real to every family. We can all, if you've ever had to lay to rest a member of your family, relate to that moment where you're really saying those final goodbyes at the graveside, and it is a tough moment. It's the reality setting in. And so for the Graham family, though they've been through this process for 9 days, that process continues.
Yeah, and you know, I'm glad you mentioned the emotion of it, because we've all been to funerals over the years, and of course there are tears, and of course because it's Billy Graham there is a very religious message here. I think the thing that is striking, and maybe because Billy Graham himself was so prepared for death, is it was lighthearted much of the time. There was laughter almost in every presentation today. You mentioned all the members of the family. Each of them would stand up and say, I've got to follow that.
Yes.
After yet another
amazing testimony,
speech and testimony up there today. And frankly, when we ask people, you and I both, and others who are here, what is the number one way you would describe how you feel right now? Joy.
Yep.
They felt joy at a funeral, which is striking.
And it was an inspirational message that they were trying to deliver on behalf of their father, because they knew he wouldn't want all these people under this tent without that message being delivered. Now, we have a lot of big name people from the entertainment world, the celebrity world. Of course, the President of the United States and the Vice President were here. But our Ben Hoover has been talking to a lot of people. He's joining us, of course, here in Charlotte at the Billy Graham Library with a little bit more on who you've been able to talk to, Ben.
Well, Amy, you know, followers and admirers of Billy Graham will tell you that, you know, part of what's so appealing about Billy Graham is that he had the ability to reach and to impact, you know, celebrities at the top of their game, and also poor people in third world countries and everyone in between. Now, today, notable about today's funeral services is the fact that there were so many different speakers from so many different diverse backgrounds and different denominations, all focused on Bible scripture, touching upon Graham's pure, simple message about the gospel, all attributes that made Billy Graham a man to look up to for these two famous singers you're about to hear from, Christian music artist Stephen Curtis Chapman and Emmy Award-winning country bluegrass singer Ricky Skaggs.
Which is his life, you know, his life was, that's all he would want today to be about. He wouldn't want it to be about him. He wanted to be known not as a great man of God, but as a man of a great God, a God of great love, and pointing everything to him. So that's what today was about.
You don't hear it much anymore, you know. I mean, it's just like, unless you go watch the Billy Graham classics, you know, the old black and white reruns, you know, The Cross, you know, boy, you'd thunder that thing, man. And I tell you, you felt it.
Ricky Skaggs especially admired Graham as a man of integrity who surrounded himself with other godly men. And Gordon, Skaggs put it perfectly today. He said, quote, Billy Graham's race is run, and he finished well.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. You know, we met so many people, including the photographer you're working with today, who said, oh boy, I sing the songs of the guys we're here interviewing, which would be very exciting. I mean, these are actual celebrities who have made, in some cases, great fortunes in their careers. And yet they're here worshiping maybe one of the great names in Christianity, Billy Graham, maybe over top of all of them. How humbling is it for these people that you're talking to come and pay respects to Billy Graham?
I'll tell you what, Gordon, you know, I never got the sense today that any of them were here to get in front of a camera. As willing as they were to speak with us, these people knew very specific things, very intimate things about Billy Graham. Like Ricky Skaggs talked about the fact that Billy Graham, whenever he would travel for his crusades with his team, and that when they would stay at hotels, they would, you know, leave the doors open in between the hotel rooms all throughout the day because they just wanted to surround themselves with each other. And, you know, I think that speaks to his integrity as well, that, you know, you are what you do behind even closed doors. Yeah.
Well, Ben, we appreciate that insight, and certainly you got a lot of insight from very special people to Billy Graham, and of course he to them. All right, we want to talk about some of the other moments that happen around this. If you've ever been to a funeral, you know there's a lot of tears and tough stuff, but there's also a lot of joy and friendly exchanges that happen between people. Right before the service started, we happened to be with Rick Warren, who's the author of The Purpose-Driven Life, and some of the grandsons, as they had a pretty amusing exchange about losing their grandfather. Listen.
I said it reminds me of the first Star Wars, where Obi-Wan allows Darth Vader to kill him, so that all of the Force goes to Luke.
Exactly. Right.
So we're hoping, Luke.
Exactly. Yeah, right.
Come on, we're all counting on you, big fella.
I'm more likely to be Wookiee.
Oh my gosh!
But
So there you go. Have you had those moments at a funeral? They were happening here with some of the biggest names in Christianity. That Purpose-Driven Life book, I think half of America owns, right?
Celebration of life. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it is.
Well, Amy and Gordon, you've done such a wonderful job of making us all feel like we were there too and understanding what it was like. And I know, Amy, specifically, you had talked earlier about the fact that Billy Graham planned every detail of this funeral. We've heard in the newsroom talk of the pulpit and the casket and specifics about that. Can you share some of those details?
Well, one of the really interesting parts of this is that pine casket you heard about. And what we learned is that George Beverly Shea, Cliff Barrows, the two gentlemen who are the music power behind his ministry, and his wife Ruth, they were all buried in that same style of casket made by prisoners down in Louisiana. So it's just kind of interesting that the simplicity of it all. We're in a tent because the whole thing started in a tent in Los Angeles where a crusade that was supposed to go 3 weeks went 8 weeks, and suddenly Billy Graham was on the covers of newspapers across the country beginning this legacy of Christianity.
Just in the same way that his remains have come back home here to Charlotte, Tom and Diane, all of that has come back to home for him with the Crusades, and now back to this tent crusade to say farewell. Tom?
Yeah, Gordon, I'd like to ask you about this. I found myself very interested in the huge role that music played in this service. It was always a big part of Reverend Graham's crusades, but today we had Christian artists, we had the bagpipe exit. The music seemed to be an extremely important part of what was planned for today.
Oh, it was beautiful music too. The Gaither singers were here.
Yes.
Michael W. Smith was here today, and the singing was beautiful. The people in the tent were singing here today. Tom, you're 100% correct. But you know, when you come to a service like this, a worship service and a farewell, sometimes it's only the music, as you know very well, Tom, that can actually convey the types of emotions that maybe words don't always convey.
I know Michael W. Smith, one of my favorites in the Christian music world, being here singing above all. That was a beautiful moment, one of my favorite moments musically. But also, it was like going to church, Tom, because we were singing our hymns, and it was just like going to church a little bit, too.
All right, Amy, Gordon, thanks so much for the coverage tonight, along with Ben from the Billy Graham Library in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, we will be continuing our coverage throughout this newscast, plus tonight on 7 News at 7.
In just less than an hour, we're going to take a full look at the life of Reverend Billy Graham. Stay tuned.